Hi, my name's David Wilson. I'm the CEO of Fosway. I'm actually speaking tomorrow, but I've been asked to chair this session for Ger Driesen, who is a founder of aNewSpring, who's going to talk to us about learning trends and how that impacts the future of learning. So I'll let Ger introduce himself and the topic in a little bit more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, thank you all for joining me later in the afternoon. Indeed, my name is Ger Driesen. I'm from the Netherlands, and I represent the company aNewSpring. It's a strange name because we provide a blended learning platform. And why do you call something like that aNewSpring, a company? Well, one of our founders, he is always very happy. In the Netherlands, the winters can be strong, can be cold, and when a new spring arrives, people are very happy with the new spring. So that's why he decided everybody's happy with the new spring. Let's call our company aNewSpring. So I will discuss with you and explore with you the ideas about trends and about hard trends and soft trends and how they are connected to learning. And I see David Kelly in the back of the room. He started this morning also with a session on trends. So who was at this session, at David's session? A few people, yeah. Okay, so we can make some connections there. That's nice. Future, let's talk about the future. And first I want to get to know you a little bit better. So I have some statements and I want to know how you perceive these statements. So my first statement is that the future is predictable. And I'd like you to vote. If you say, yes, I agree, the future is predictable, then please stand up. If you say, no, I don't agree, then please stay seated. So I need you all at this, so please vote now, stand up or be seated. Go. And look around. Yeah, haha. There's one lady. Oh, it's a difficult exercise for you. I'm sorry for that, but even more fantastic that you join like that. Okay, that was the first statement. We go to the second statement. The second statement is, after coming winter, a new spring will arrive. So after the next winter, a new spring will arrive. If you agree with that statement, please stand up. And if you disagree, stay seated. That gives a different impression. So please look around who is standing and who is still seated. Yes, thank you. Third statement. Yeah, we're doing some exercise this afternoon to keep fresh. On a global scale, life expectancy is increasing. So increases life expectancy. We tend to grow older. Okay, have a look around. The other ones, the voters. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Statement 4, the price of digital memory decreases. So the price that you pay, the amount of money that you pay for digital memory decreases, becomes cheaper. Okay, that's majority. Thank you. Number 5, almost there. The number of devices connected to the internet increases. There are some smart people in the room. They keep standing. That's just fine. Okay, that's about 60%. Yes, okay. Now we go to the last one. Statement 6, the future is predictable. One extra. Okay, that's generally the case, that people tend to stick with their first ID. Okay, so talking about trends and predictability, there are some trends, and talking about trends, I mean trends not in the sense of fashion, of buzzwords as we heard this morning, but trends in the sense of that there is data, that there is evidence that these trends happen. And we can have a look at those trends by dividing them into hard trends and soft trends. What is the big difference? Well, hard trends, we know that they will happen. There are laws of nature underlying those hard trends. There must be something very strange that changes, otherwise those hard trends will continue. Soft trends, at the other hand, soft trends are based on choices. So it's because we made decisions, we took choices, that's why we choose certain directions, certain solutions, and that's where the soft trends come from. Example. In general, you agreed on the statement that people become much older these days. And in most countries, if people become older, they get their pension on a later age, so they have to work longer. I'm from the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, at 65, you normally would quit working and then got your pension. Now, because we all grow older, the government changed that and we have to work till 67. So you could say the trend is that people have to work longer, and in fact it is so, but it's based on a political choice. We could have made another choice, say, okay, we still keep it at 65. It will cost a lot of money, but it could have been a choice. They decided otherwise. So that's the difference between hard trends and soft trends. Hard trends based on laws, natural laws, laws by nature, soft trends based on choices. So knowing that distinction between hard trends and soft trends is, if we know the hard trends, then we can be sure about some things about the future. So the future is partly predictable looking at hard trends, and is partly not predictable, unpredictable because of the choices we make, and from that come the soft trends. Let's explore the 7 hard trends, and I use the work of futurist Daniel Burrus for the 7 hard trends, and we will have a closer look at them during the presentation. The first one is dematerialization, the second one is virtualization, third mobility, fourth product intelligence, networks, interactivity and adaptivity, and convergence. We will have a closer look. Let's start with dematerialization, but before we do so, I want to warn you that there is some time later on to have some discussion at your table about application. So after we explore the 7 hard trends, you will get this assignment. At your table, please discuss after the hard trends, how the hard trends might apply to your situation. And it's good to have a look at combination of hard trends. You have to be aware that context is king. So in your situation, how could you apply? It can be very different than to other people at your table. And I want to ask you also, what will your action be exploring those trends? So this assignment will be there again after exploring the 7 trends. Dematerialization. Who knows this? LP? Who had an LP? Who once bought an LP in his life? Yeah? Okay. So if we want to play music at home, you have to buy an LP, and then you could play it, and there were, depending on how long the songs were, there were a few songs on the LP. So then came the CD. So it changes because it was a much more smaller disc, less material, but more music. You could have much more music on your CD. Then at the end, music was just data, MP3. And you had your data file on your MP3 player or whatever player you had. So in fact, it was not material anymore, just data, but you still could say, okay, I have this data file on my device, so I still have this song. And then we skip to Spotify, and of course the song is still data then, but most of the time it's not on your device, or not only on your device, it's in the cloud somewhere, and parts come to your device and go away from your device, so it's much more fluid in that sense. So that's the idea, one idea of dematerialization. Any of you who wears contact lenses? Few? Yeah. Did you have glasses before? Yeah? Okay, so that's another example that something changed. Maybe you say, hey, but talking about music, if you really want to have music, you need musical instruments. Yeah? Those are the basic of music. So also on that side, some interesting things have been done. So this is Stradivarius, and there was one guy or a team said, okay, would it be possible to catch the essence of a Stradivarius in a data file? So they ran that experiment, and then after that, they gathered the data, created the data file. They did send the data file to a 3D printer, and ta-da, there was the 3D printed Stradivarius. So also very specific stuff, material, thing, tool. If you can catch its essence in data, then you can dematerialize it and reprint it later on. So that's the first hard trend. We need less stuff, less material for functionality. Second one is virtualization. And we tend to replace or copy stuff from our day-to-day life to the virtual reality. And when I first studied virtual reality, the question came up to me, hey, if you have virtual reality, what is the opposite? And I learned it's called grounded reality. So we tend to put things from the grounded reality to the virtual reality. And that leads to a lot of interesting opportunities. Let's have a look. By moving things to the virtual reality, in this case a machine that produces pills, you can also do training on that machine. Otherwise you should have to get together in one place, travel a lot, will cost a lot, and this is an actual situation where they applied virtual reality to learn how to handle this machine. Of course, there are other examples. I like this one. This has also a little bit of background about 3D holograms. This is a different way of using virtualization. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at this one.
A hologram of Michael Jackson appeared and performed last night at the Billboard Music Awards, almost 5 years after the singer's death. But while this might look like the future of posthumous performances, the trick itself is actually about 5 centuries old. The projection of Jackson materialized on a golden throne before launching into a performance of Slave to the Rhythm. There was moonwalking, there were taped fingers, there was dancing paramilitary cyborgs because, well, because. Jackson's appearance is just another in a series of musicians, both living and dead, who have had their images projected on stage for live performances. The most famous example is perhaps Tupac Shakur from 2012's Coachella Music Festival. The likeness was created by Visual Effects Studio's Digital Domain, which reportedly took 4 months to create the projection of the rapper at a cost of up to $400,000. And this past April, Janelle Monáe and MIA performed a live duet from both New York and Los Angeles, with each singing alongside a 3D projection of the other. But it's not just musicians. Recently elected Indian Prime Minister Modi used it to make appearances at hundreds of campaign rallies across the country. And it's not actually a hologram, not in the way we picture in science fiction like Star Wars. The technique is called Pepper's Ghost and dates back to the 16th century. So while the illusion is not a new invention, the advent of lifelike CGI has only recently allowed us to resurrect celebrities and musicians. So, did it work? Reactions so far have been mixed. The CGI hits up against the so-called uncanny valley, with Jackson's face looking obviously artificial up close. There was also some technical issues in the ABC broadcast that were later fixed for the official video on Vivo. It also begs the question, could someone actually make a pop star from scratch? Japan's Hatsune Miku is an entirely digital creation, voice and all, and yet she's played to sold-out crowds. And at the 2006 Grammy Awards, Madonna sang alongside an entirely fictional act of gorillas. So while the practice day is still rare enough to warrant shock and awe, it won't be long before you're paying top dollar to see your favorite musician or speaker, living, dead, or completely made up.
Okay, so virtualization in a different way. And who is from Singapore? Oh, that's nothing new to you. If you go to Sentosa Island, you can have a whole show of this. Isn't that right? I know about it, didn't visit it yet. But for the other ones, you can go there, have a show of pop magicians acting like this. So that was the second one. Let's go to the third one, product intelligence. We tend to grow towards the Internet of Things, and that means that all kind of products that we use in our day-to-day life, in our work, but also in our private life, they contain chips, computing power, etc. So by adding computer power and software, our day-to-day products become more intelligent. And there are all kind of things, that's why it's called the Internet of Things. They are connected also to the Internet sometimes, that can help us become better in whatever it can be. So you can see the smart ball here. It has all kind of sensors in it, so it will record how you play football, and it will gather the data for you, and after that you can analyze the data, and it will help you becoming better in soccer. Small one over there, the little baby with the pacifier. It's not a regular pacifier, it's a pacifier also containing all kind of sensors. So with the pacifier you can check on your baby's condition, heartbeat, etc. So a different approach of an intelligent pacifier, an intelligent product. Toothbrush with sensors and an app, of course. It can help you brush your teeth in the perfect way, that you be sure that you clean every part of your teeth, every direction, every angle, and enough time to stay healthy. Of course, the thermostat and your home, the Nest, it will also learn. It's not only intelligent in the sense that it has sensors, knows about the temperature, but it also learns how the people in the specific house, how they behave and what their preferences are, looking to temperature. And it can learn and adapt. The glove for the golfers. Any golfers in the room? Yes, okay. Do you have one like these with sensors? No? Okay, so it's out there. A glove with all kind of sensors, so if you play golf, it's like the ball. It keeps a record of your movements, etc. So you can learn better, get feedback from the data. And then, okay, some cows. I'm from the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands we have cows also containing computer chips and some intelligence. There are sensors in the cows, and they are connected to the internet, so the farmer can see, okay, what is the right moment for the cows to get a visit from the bull. That can be very important. So that's a very easy way to keep your cattle at the right condition. Product intelligence. So you can imagine that also in our day-to-day work, the tools that we use become much more intelligent day by day. In sports we see a lot of that, but also in tools at work, different situations, different examples exist, and they can help to become aware of how you do your work and how you can do your job in a better way, and give you performance support in that sense. Mobility. So the other hard trend is mobility, that we are much more mobile, carrying technology, carrying our devices with us. It's because of the size of devices shrink, And it's because we have internet connection and all kind of apps. We have them available in our pockets these days. And so it means that we are mobile with our tools. It's easy to carry them. So everything is available, apps, information, etc. is available 24/7. That leads to some new challenges. So we have Sweden, for instance. They created a new shield, and it says, "Watch out for zombies." And zombies are the smartphone zombies. So if you walk in Sweden, it's easy that somebody would bump to you, and that's why they created this new shield. In the Netherlands, there's also an experiment. They created a zombie-adjusted traffic light, because when you are walking on the street and you are approaching a traffic light, you can't see it, it's over there. So your vision is over there, so you need a light somewhere down there. So they put a strip into the boardwalk so that it's easy for the zombies to stay safe and keep on destroying their thumbs. Networks. People have built networks for many, many years. And I just had a little chat with David about the name of his company. It's called Fosway, and it was a Roman road, a straight road. That's where the name of his company comes from. So the Romans, they created a lot of roads, and these roads were the first networks that brought people together. And bringing people together means that they exchange goods, of course. They sell and buy or exchange goods with each other, but they also exchange ideas and knowledge, etc., and experiences. So first networks were created by roads. And then, of course, we have these new opportunities later, the trains, which could bring us much faster and have the opportunity to meet different people, learn new things. And of course, the airplanes, also a very nice example of networks with increased technology to bring people together much easily. And then, of course, we got the internet, the digital network. And first, the internet was quite dull. It was only a connection of scientists sending data towards each other so that they could data crunch the data sets of each other. And it was green screen, not very attractive. And only later we started to develop the internet to what it's now. And it became very different. So we had the internet of computers, we still have that, but we have additionally the internet of things, all the devices connected to the internet, your fridge, your lightings in the house, whatever, your baby, your cows, whatever. We are now growing, is the idea, to the internet of brains. Ooh, that's scary, isn't it? Well, you see this picture of an experiment, two scientists. They both have these caps on their heads. They have sensors in there. So those two guys are playing a computer game. The one with the blue shirt is only watching the computer game. And the other guy with the red shirt, he's in a very different room on the same campus of the university. He just holds his finger on the right position, and when the guy with the blue shirt thinks, now I have to push because I have to shoot, it was a shooting game, he only thinks that, then his brainwaves will be transported via the internet to the guy with the purple cap, and he taps and shoots. So there's a real connection there as an experiment of sending thoughts to somebody else, and by that he can do a little action. So it's the start. It's not very sophisticated yet, but it will continue to develop. So networks in very different way will continue to grow. And of course there's an older version of that. Let's have a look.
Can you fly that thing?
Not yet.
Operator.
Tank, I need a pilot program for a V-212 helicopter. Hurry.
So the question was, can you fly that thing? Not yet, said the lady. Then she calls the operator.
Let's go.
And he downloaded the helicopter app to her brain. Okay, so when networks increase, the idea is that the Internet of Brains will come, and downloading an app on your brain for a specific task might be possible in the future. I think you like it. Okay. Let's have a look at interactivity and adaptivity. Almost there with the trends. Netflix. Oh, it's discussion Netflix with this one, but okay, let's not discuss that part. Who is on Netflix? Who has a Netflix subscription? It's here 1.5 years now. Okay. Who did watch House of Cards? Or is watching House of Cards? Okay, good. When you watch Netflix, Netflix is watching you. Be aware of that. And that's the interactivity. So when you are watching Netflix, and not only you, every user of Netflix, when you are using the application, you will create information, data. At what time do you watch? What do you watch? How long do you watch? Maybe you fast forward a specific scene, then it might have been a dull one. Maybe you review a scene more than once. Hey, that must be an interesting one. So they use these data to create their next topics, their next episodes of different series on Netflix. So they use the data on how you use the app to create an optimal adaptive experience for you. It has two ways, different as for the directors to create more interesting content for you. And if you are on Netflix, you also know that you get recommendations because you watched certain series. Other ones might also be interesting for you. Can we also apply that interactivity and adaptivity, so an optimal experience based on user data towards learning and performance support? Yes, we can. So this is an example of a project in the financial sector, and in year one they did regular e-learning. And what is the situation? In Europe there was the financial crisis, and the government sent out a lot of new laws about capability, and you should have pass exams, etc., to be able to continue your job as a financial advisor. So young people who just started need to do their exams, but also much more mature people with a lot of background, a lot of experience, had to do the exams again to stay in their job. So they did e-learning for that, and year one it's 5,000 participants, almost 10,000 modules. In general, they needed 11 hours to do the program. 92.5% succeeded, and the cost per module was $61. Then they switched to adaptive learning. And what is adaptive learning? There you start with a kind of test, kind of exam. It's a test, and the system gets to know the knowledge that you already have and the experience. So first test to start, and then based on that test, based on these data, you get a specific path, learning path, that's specific for you based on your previous knowledge, on the knowledge and the experience that you already have. And so it continues creating the most optimal path for you within the platform. So that gives another picture. Amount of learners was a bit more, about the modules also, but study time decreased from, in general, 11 hours to 4.5 hours. So adaptive, optimal experience. That didn't mean that every person changed from 11 to 4.5 hours. No, there were people who needed 20 hours maybe. The ones that were fairly new in this area needed more time. But the ones who were experienced and had a lot of knowledge when started this course, they could do with 4.5 hours or less. What they also said, this e-learning approach quite often, and it was mandatory from the government, click, 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 all the stuff that I already know. They said in the second year, okay, this is much better. Now what I have to do is relevant for me because it's new for me or I need some extra training for that. So it saves me a lot of time and it's relevant for me. That is a very big boost for learner engagement. So that's a way with interactivity, adaptivity, that we can change learning and make it more effective. And of course, it's a much more effective use of the resources, looking at the money that can be saved by that. And the last one is of the 7 one is convergence. So it's not only that these trends continue, the 6 before, but they also grow together, they converge. And the hard trends themselves converge, so they help each other growing faster and growing to a certain central point, but also applications converge. And okay, there were days that you had all these tools to get yourself through your day, and now applications converge and it leads to one device that has all these applications at this one device, small device that you can use. So that's the convergence of applications, the 7th trend. So now it's up to you. At your table, I think you will be from different backgrounds, from different kind of organizations, maybe in different jobs. But please have a discussion in groups of 3, something like that. Just arrange that yourself on your table and have a discussion on the 7 trends, the 7 hard trends, and what they might mean for you. So how might these hard trends apply to your situation? What could help you? What is an idea that is most appealing to you? It's also very important that you say, okay, I can pick one, but maybe it's even more interesting to have a look at the combination of different trends. And then also discuss with each other and help each other that is meaningful in your context. So it's not that easy to say, okay, in my situation, this could be a good idea, that somebody else says, okay, I can use it also in my situation. It's more natural that you say, okay, my situation is very different, so I could apply it in a different way and learn from each other for these different contexts. Yes? So please have some time. I will go back to the overview of the 7 trends and you can discuss with each other.
All right, I was just sharing with my team here, the table group, on how the machine learning might be able to help us in terms of cutting out the time that the lawyers spend in terms of doing legal research, right? Because right now it's pretty manual, digging up a lot of case files and other things to look for cases to support the current case that they're working on. So one area that we were looking at right now is in terms of online research tools, because they need to log on to, say, like Lexis and others, to dig up past cases. And one way is, how do we tap on the learning patterns in fishing out and digging up cases and putting that together so that in future when people are looking up for similar example of cases and instead of having to start from scratch, how can the machine learning help us in that? Yeah, so that's one possible area.
Okay, thank you. I think there's a bit more.
We were talking about many things, but what struck me was mobility and networks. In my business, networking is about the individual, and how do we get away from the technology as a driver to the technology as an enabler with the human at the centre of the network. And that's a pretty important thing for us. And the other one was the mobility of the devices. Again, in my business, a smartphone may not necessarily be the best thing for us to take with us with what we're doing. But again, the smaller the device, the more that we can fit onto it, the better it will help our information, not so much information overload, but the passage of information to and from those networked individuals.
Okay, thank you. One more, maybe this side.
It's not going One sec.
We've been talking about sort of using the Netflix concept, but in e-learning. So being able to track where the learner is looking, how long they're spending on an e-learning slide, if they are reading every word or whether they're just looking at the pictures and those sorts of things, and then using that to adapt the learning to suit the learner. So if they need more concept, if they're spending lots of time reading the information, then giving them more information. If they're skimming through, just giving them the main points of an e-learning. So we'll talk a wee bit about that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, David. Good. Okay. So last part, I want to move to some tips for application. And I'm aware that those hard trends are high-level trends, so they don't come easy with very practical tips. I tried to give you some examples of the VR, of the adaptive learning, etc. But it's always that you have to find your own way in your own situation. It must make sense in the situation, in the context that you work in. But let's explore some tips that might help you finding the right direction. The first one is keep looking at the future every day, or once in a while, but on a regular basis. And I hope, that's my main objective for today, that these 7 hard trends will help you as lenses to look at the future. And you know from now on, these are the 7 directions that will continue. And that's the way we go on a high level. That might help you also to, if you experience a new buzzword or a new fad or a new fashion, say, okay, hey, this seems to be very popular now and these days. How does is it connected to the hard trends, and does it make sense to me then? Can I make it useful, and does it make sense looking at the hard trends? So that's the first one, keep looking at the future. The second one is be aware of the hype cycle. Who's aware of the Gartner hype cycle? Okay, so it's a general idea that new technology and the implementation of new technology has a certain way of finding its way into our lives. So first there is a spark of a first new idea, and it comes into discussion, and then it suddenly seems to explode. So everybody is talking about the same thing, big data, blockchain, whatever it is these days. Everybody's talking about it, and there's a lot of attention for that. Then after that, the expectations are really high, but it doesn't bring really solid solutions yet. So then the optimism decreases. People say, haven't heard lately that much anymore from blockchain or big data or whatever. So people become disappointed. And then there has to be a moment that while people are disappointed most of the time, other people are still working very hard to find how they can use these new solutions in their specific context. And then at the moment when people start sharing their good applications, then it will take the positive route again. So the hype cycle is a specific way of how technology is experienced in this way when a new thing arrives. The third one is think and, not or. So you could say, hey, there is this new approach, there is this new technique, let's get rid of all the old and only work with the new stuff. Most of the time that's not a good idea. So it's good to be enthusiastic about new things and then take a step back and say, okay, how can I create a new blend of the old and the new? A blend that makes sense, a blend that is a smart way of combining things together. That's the third tip. The fourth tip is be prepared for a struggle. It isn't easy Sometimes you hear exciting stories about people introducing new technologies. It was hallelujah, it was a big success, etc. In general, there is a big fight, a struggle behind that, or it are only the nice stories that you hear. In general, you have to work hard, you have to find your way, you have to work together, and it will be a struggle before you get successful. So be prepared for that struggle. And the last one is the best way, experiment, because the best way to predict the future is to create it yourself. And that's the message I would like to deliver to you as my last message for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ger. Do we have any questions? I'm not going to let you go that easily, okay? So I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so the context of this session is around the future of learning. So which of those trends, or which combination of those trends, do you think is the most important change that people should be thinking around here for learning in 2018?
I should go for the adaptive one. Yeah. So personalization and adaptivity. I think we have a lot of new opportunities there. Technology is at the stage there that you say, okay, it's not, I wouldn't say easy to use, but it's fairly easy to use. Of course, it takes time to apply it. It's not magic that you say, okay, I switch on my adaptive button and then it's already there. It's not that simple. But adaptivity in the sense that it saves time, it saves money. And from the learner side, if it's only the stuff that you have to engage with that's relevant for you in your situation, I think that's what we owe to learners.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot from our research around organizations rediscovering things like blended learning. And I say rediscovering, this is not new, but often the strategy is very fixed. I think we have an expression in Fosway, we talk about L&D as a habit of delivery. It focuses on running the workshop, running the course, not actually understanding how this person needs to optimally consume it, both for time but also for efficacy. Yeah. What is the most effective way of doing it?
Yeah.
Questions?
I appreciated your 5 tips. Thank you very much. One of them was be prepared for this. Be prepared for the struggle. So the Netherlands is a few years ahead of, we're in Malaysia, and with all due respect to Singapore, perhaps Singapore as well. Could you describe some of the elements of the struggle that you've encountered in terms of bringing technology into learning in the Netherlands?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I used to work myself as a trainer, skills trainer. So, and I like that job. And if you are in a room with people who also like the training and they like what they learn, it's a very rewarding job to be a good teacher. People are happy, people say thank you at the end, and quite often you also experience that the next time you meet them, they found their way, they could apply something, they are happy also with the results at their work. So one thing is, if you say, okay, now let's shift to digital, or partly to digital, from the teacher perspective, why should I move that way? It's not an attractive way to go from that perspective. So that's a hard one. Second one, and that's part of the struggle, you can't do it alone as L&D, as L&D professionals. You need to work together with other people within a company, the IT department, maybe communication. So you have to find your way, say, okay, when we want to move in that direction, because of, first the why should be clear. You have to find partnerships with other disciplines within your company and make it a team effort to get success. And it's not always easy to make it a team effort, because everybody is asking IT to support them. Everybody is asking communication to support them. So that's also part of the struggle.
Hi, Mr. Driesen. Thanks for the sharing. I've attended both the trend talks today, and I was just wondering, there was no...
I'm sorry, can you speak a bit louder, please?
I attended both the trend talks today, and I was wondering, there was no sharing regarding internet security. I'm from a local institution here, and apparently cyber attack and cyber internet security issues are becoming a trend where certain things are done on the back end where there are more restrictions on what you can install on, let's say, the staff notebook or even the student's notebook. So I'm just wondering, is there a trend or can I seek your opinion? Is this becoming an issue when people are developing applications or cloud-based software where internet security is paramount? Yeah.
I'm sorry, there's a lot of noise in my ear from that side. So can you...
So the question was about examples. We've talked a lot about trends, but cyber security and internet security is a big issue and becoming a much bigger one. So are there examples about how cybersecurity might impact the way some of these trends in reality can be made real?
Yes, maybe that's also a part of the struggle. Huh? So if you say, hey, from the learning department, we want to move on. We searched for a good application, a good platform or whatever, a good piece of technology that can help us. Then you will meet somebody from the IT department says, okay, let's check on this. Or maybe from the legal department says, hey, how about data security? That's often an important topic if you want to introduce new technology, a new technology platform that we also see with our customers. They have to check with data privacy and is it safe enough in their opinion to introduce new technology. So, and if those things of cyber attacks continue and damage a lot, then it will not be positive for the digital movement that we make. So yes, I think it has an effect on that. And maybe that's also good. We have to be cautious, of course, and it's not nice, but we have to find our way in the right balance to get the profits from the digital approach, but also be aware of the risks and be prepared for the risks. Does that help you? Yeah.
Mic on, thank you. So, so first of all, I'd like to thank her under some fairly difficult sound conditions in terms of giving a very interesting presentation. So thank you for that. And I've been asked to actually tell you that before you get to have drinks, okay, before drinks, there is Donald Taylor is presenting a wrap-up session for the day at Seminar Room 1, which is just outside the front. So that will be in about 10 minutes, and then after that you can get some drinks. So thank you very much.
Thank you all. I'll be around today and tomorrow, so if you want to have a chat, perfect. Thank you all.